What's up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of Go Talk with Marcus, powered by Project by GoField, presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. Tonight, joining on the show is Jalen Hunter, host of the Unpopular Podcast, and Neil Hoyte, the man behind the hashtag thisJUSTin Sports Show. And there's a lot to talk about. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets are your 2023 NBA champions. Damian Lillard could be on his way to South Beach. And good old Mad Dog Matt Russo gave us his top 5 title contenders for next season, and that list is quite a doozy. All that and so much more next on Go Talk with Marcus.
Give them a shot to do what?
Fellas, how we doing here?
It's all good, man. It's good. Always great to talk basketball, especially with you doing anybody that is around you to talk basketball. Once it's not Justin.
Once it's not Justin, that's true.
Man, I appreciate the invitation, man. It's always a blessing coming on. So thank you.
It is always a pleasure to have you guys on the show. And there's a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. Last night? Monday night. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets won their very first title in franchise history. So, Jalen, does that mean the Nuggets should be the favorites to come out of the West next season?
Currently constructed, yes. If you look throughout this Denver Nuggets run, while yes, I've seen a lot of people, especially today, talk about, well, the run wasn't that hard. And my fault. My thing is you beat who's in front of you. I guess free agency is going to be interesting. Like, are they going to be able to keep Bruce Brown? I never thought that Bruce Brown would be such a vital piece. A lot of their veterans may be there, may not be there. Jeff Green was a vital piece. But their core, and of course Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, they're going to be there. KCP is probably going to be there, and I think that they have to be the favorites. Now, I don't think it should be a resounding favorite as it usually is, but I do think they've earned their self, and how they played throughout the finals and just this playoffs. It'll be tough for me to pick somebody else going into the next season to be a favorite after what I just saw them dismantle pretty much everyone they played this entire playoff run.
How about you? Should the Nuggets be the favorites heading out of the West next season?
Yes, they should be for all the reasons Jalen just mentioned. And I'm glad you brought up that point, Jalen, about playing who is in front of you, because this whole narrative of they had an easy season or they had an easy path or like all the years you would hear that sort of rhetoric is nonsense to me. But anyhow, I think they should be should be the favorites coming to the West next year, simply because their core will be intact. We have to see what the rest of the league is going to do, particularly in the West. But really and truly, when you see how this team is constructed, you see who is essentially signed on for the next few years. They have a very good chance of coming out of the West next season.
Yeah,
I would agree. I think, and Jalen, you mentioned that we didn't think that Bruce Brown would be a key piece to any team, but especially the Nuggets playing to championship contention. I think that the key piece as it pertains to whether or not the Nuggets can make it out of the West again is Michael Porter Jr., right? Like what we saw Michael Porter Jr. do this season when healthy was amazing. And I think because of how great and how phenomenal Aaron Gordon was, and because of the production of Bruce Brown, and because of the production of even like a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, I feel like what Michael Porter did was kind of went under the radar a little bit. Like he is the third best player on that team, and he is the difference. Like I know we're kind of out of the whole big three era now, but like the Nuggets are really the only team that have a legit big three if Murray and Jokic and MPJ are healthy. And that, when you look at the West and you look at the other teams in the West, like they're the only team in the West that can really say that, right? I know you've got the Warriors with Steph and Clay and Draymond, but on an offensive production standpoint, Draymond Green doesn't bring to the table from as it pertains like points and putting the ball in the basket nearly as much as what MPJ does. Like the Lakers don't really have a big three. The Clippers they have a big three, but two of their three has health issues. So like, how often will they be available? Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, they have health issues, and the Pelicans are reportedly open to moving on from Zion this offseason. Like, that's not a big three. Like, there's not many. The road of resistance in the West, as you guys kind of alluded to, was it as stiff as the road to resistance in the East? Relatively, no. But the Nuggets still did what they had to do. And I think if Michael Porter Jr. stays healthy and plays the level of basketball we saw him play this postseason, I don't think there's a team at this current moment in time, because obviously free agency matters, but at this current moment in time, I don't think there's a team right now in the West that could keep the Nuggets from making it back to the finals next season.
Can I speak on that point real quick?
Yeah, of course.
I think especially when you saw how these playoffs played out, I think Michael Porter Jr. is supposed to be their third best player. But it's hard for me right now to see what I just saw and not slide Aaron Gordon into that spot, which means that if we get the Michael Porter Jr. that you got from the regular season last year, if he improves, and of course that carries on to the playoffs, which, as we saw, the first series he was going crazy. The second series he started dying down, and of course the third, when he got to the conference finals and the NBA finals, he just couldn't buy a 3-point shot. Yeah. But you saw how versatile Aaron Gordon was, and that's what kind of shocked me. Aaron Gordon, of course we know Aaron Gordon as the high flyer, number 4 overall pick from Arizona, pretty much was living the dog days in New Orleans.
Orlando.
Mm-hmm. But it's like, I didn't understand how versatile he can be. And when he devoted, because he was never, one of the biggest knocks on him, especially coming out of Arizona, was he does not play any defense. Sure. With the body type that he has, with the physical, he just doesn't play. But you go to Denver and he devoted himself to the defensive side of the ball. To me, he is their third best, and he was their, outside of course Nikola Jokic, he was their most important player, in my opinion, in the finals. Because Jamal Murray, while yes, Jamal Murray is better than him, of course, Jamal Murray was kind of ebbs and flows with the offense, but Aaron Gordon was, matched with guarding a Jimmy Butler, and he saw himself having to guard Bam Adebayo at times. So I guess the only thing I would say is I agree that that Michael Porter Jr. is important. But if you get a better Michael Porter Jr. as well as this Aaron Gordon, that just adds on to the fact of I don't think there's a team that can beat this team. And that's including the Celtics if they make some moves, or the Bucks, because you're dealing with 4 players that can essentially affect the game 4 different ways. Mm-hmm. And I guess the only pushback I have is Michael Porter Jr. is supposed to be their third best player, and possibly is on any given night, but Aaron Gordon has stepped up more than I thought he would in every series. He had to guard LeBron, he had to guard KD at times. So if you get that Aaron Gordon and more consistent and improved Michael Porter Jr., this sky's a mile high champs times 2 next year.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was going to add that sort of sentiment, because imagine if this season Michael Porter Jr. did not live up to the expectation, as Jalen was saying, he wasn't the third best. He was supposed to be, but he wasn't. Aaron Gordon kind of slotted in there, and he did very well. And then, of course, gentlemen, let's not forget their defense, right? At the end of the day, you have an Aaron Gordon that can be steady and stable, give you the points, the defense, and everything like that. You still have all of their other bench players, KCP hitting the 3. Everything is pointing toward them. Once they remain their 8 guys stable and healthy, shoot, if Michael Porter Jr. comes back and plays to the expectation level that we all think that he could play at, then sky's the limit. Shoot, there may be a bigger fit. They probably would get more respect than they got this year in terms of the certain odds and Vegas and stuff like that. But there is no doubt that with his team right now as constructed, like if we were to go into next season with this same current roster, MPJ playing how he's playing, Aaron Gordon playing how he's playing, whatever, I can't see any team right now beating him. As Jalen is saying, we all have to see, because there are some crazy rumors today. Zion and what's happening with Dame Lillard and possibly going to Miami. So we really have to see what's going to happen, particularly out west, to see how that dynamic shifts. But it would be hard pressed for me at this moment to bet against the Denver Nuggets for repeating next season.
I couldn't agree more. Let's focus on Nikola Jokic, who there's not enough time in the show to go down the historical nature of not just his postseason, but the NBA Finals specifically and all the firsts that he accomplished. Every year around this time, we get a new champion and a player goes on a run, and we start to talk about him a little bit different. And there's been some discourse about whether or not Nikola Jokic is a top 5 center of all time. Neil, if you had to rank Jokic right now, he is a 2-time MVP. He's a 5-time All-NBA selection. He now is a champion and a Finals MVP. Where does Nikola Jokic rank for you all time amongst the other great big men in basketball?
So when I saw this question, right, like Nikola Jokic is such a sneaky player. Let me just say it, because he's one of these guys that, like, literally when I was hearing all these accolades during the finals and all the firsts and everything, yeah, everybody know about the 2-time MVP. But then when you see all of the firsts and all of the accolades that he did, shoot, I even went on Wikipedia today just for a quick reference, and it's like, this man has put together a hell of a career at 28. Yeah. Where do I put him in the top 5? All right, let me throw them out there. We have Shaq, we have Wilt, we have Kareem. Yeah, like I can't name 5 centers better than this man. If it was to be hard pressed,
Hakeem and Bill.
Oh boy,
Hakeem. You have Hakeem.
Yeah.
Shaq.
Uh-huh.
You have Wilt.
Uh-huh.
Bill.
Uh-huh.
Bill. You said Bill is a center, right?
Yeah, Bill's a center. Yeah.
Right.
You got Kareem. That's 5.
That's 5.
That's 5.
That's 5. Right. So
that's 5.
I just say, man, like I know a lot of people speak on Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is a great. I thought that was your response.
Like something was going on. You said what?
So I was like, "What are you gonna say about Joel Embiid?" That's really funny. Nah, I mean Joel Embiid is a hell of a player. He's a hell of a center. But I mean, shoot, the eye test, the stats, just what he has accomplished. When you look at where he was drafted for the first pick, 2nd round, like it's just he is such an intelligent player, and he is built to last. He is built like he's not an athletic player. Anyhow, speaking of hyperbole, where would I put him in top 5? That is a tough one because I really do like Shaq.
Whoa.
I really do love Shaq. I really do love Shaq.
Are we trying to inch Nikola Jokic into the top 5 here?
Hold on. No, I try to see if I can make an argument. No.
Hold on.
Hold on, fellas. Let me just click over, man. I would say the reason why I would not put him in the top 5, where I would say like 5.5, is because all of the other players were transcendent. They literally gave players physical and mental nightmares. They changed rules in the league. They had unguardable moves. And Jokic, he thinks the game. He's very intelligent, and we've never seen a center like him before, right? But it is like, has he really changed anything in the center lineup? Like, shoot, give me Shaq all day, right? Give me Wilt and his dominance on both ends of the floor. You know, give me Hakeem and the dream shape. You know what I mean? But Jokic, I think for him to be in the conversation, maybe he should be a bit more of a defensive stopper. I think being a better rim protector would get him into that conversation a bit more. But I don't want to be a prisoner at the moment and say Jokic in 5. I would say he's just outside. I think if he can improve his blocks, his defensive anchoring in the middle, and he could be a bit more, dare I say, physical, even though the league is not that in 2023, I would say we can now have a conversation of possibly moving Hakeem. Shoot, if he goes on now, and I mean everybody's talking about dynasty, if he goes on now and rattles off like let's say 3 straight or something like the Warriors 3 in the last 4 or 5, then we can go start looking at the Wilts and the Hakeem, because granted, Wilt is all time, but the league is in its golden era, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think that that's enough for me bloviating. I think he's just thereabouts.
Well, all right, boom.
How about you?
So here's how I see it. I'm gonna first. Nikola Jokic, in my opinion, is kind of 1A, 1B as far as the most skilled big man we've ever seen. I think when you talk about skill, I'd put him and Hakeem pretty much neck and neck. The difference with Hakeem, of course, is while yes, he was a passer, he wasn't to the level, and he didn't display the vision that Nikola Jokic displays. I have been called a Bill Russell hater all my life, because I'm over here like, okay, Bill Russell won 11 rings, cool. But most of the time he won those rings, it was 8 teams. So, So, if anyone, in my opinion, is out the top 5, is Bill Russell. Now
his 23 point, how much ever rebounds per game?
Yeah, like he's averaging the same amount that Spencer Dinwiddie's averaging. Like, what I'm saying is, but I'm not going to take him out. I think that, and I kind of did the same thing you did before this episode. Like, let me go check to see. Maybe we're just a prisoner of the moment, Nikola Jokic. Like, God damn, like I realized he was getting better year after year, but Jesus Christ, like 2-time MVP, assist leader, the first assist leader as a center ever. So I don't want to go as far as top. I think he's for sure top 10. Like
easily.
If someone says he's not top 10, you might not want to talk to him anymore.
Easily.
But I do think that he's in the same boat, in my opinion, as Giannis. It's kind of hard to place Giannis because he does things that we've never seen people do.
Yeah.
But then yet, when you look at just the sheer accolades, while yes, he has a lengthy resume, winning is what kind of is holding him back for climbing above some people. So, like you said, if Nikola Jokic rattles off if we look up and he continues to do what he's doing for the next maybe 2-3 seasons, top 5 is easy.
Easy.
You're gonna start arguing: is he top 3? Is he top 1? But I'm gonna respect Bill Russell, and I'm gonna put Bill Russell in my top 5. But I just think Nikola Jokic is very fastly or very rapidly moving up my list. So, but he's not top 5 to answer your question yet, in my opinion.
Would you guys put David Robinson ahead of Jokic?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. He was great. But I thought about that. But the reason why I won't put him is because, let me be honest, right? Timmy helped a lot with his success, right? And granted, we can talk about it a bit later about dynamic duos, but I think the way Jokic does things, I think we had a conversation about a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about who's more important to the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. And I think it was you, Dwayne Marcus, that said something crazy like Jamal Murray is the most important person to their success in the finals. And I was like,
I think that's a gross oversimplification of what I said, but I said something along those lines. Yeah.
I love the fact that we have social media and everything is uploaded, because I remember you saying whatever you said. I remember saying that, and I was like,
what I said was, it's okay. It's okay.
He said 6 is going to win it all. I remember that.
Oh,
what I said was that
a lot of wild takes.
What I said was, when you look at the 2 seasons that Jamal Murray was not on this team, the Nuggets struggled immensely and couldn't get over the hump. And now that he's back, they're in the finals. Is what I said.
Okay.
You were saying that to make your argument that Jamal Murray was the more important person to key to success than Nikola Jokic.
I say that he did.
Yeah,
I watched that too.
Because without Jamal Murray, Jokic was sitting at home.
Bro, that was a Nikola Jokic that was coming into his own, brother mine. I am sorry, but Jamal Jokic. Not got me talking about Jamal Jokic. Nikola Jokic, right? Jamal Murray, if he didn't play, they still had a good shot of winning the finals. Mm-hmm. If Nikola Jokic doesn't play, they have no shot to win the finals. That's
They had no shot of making it to the second round.
I am just saying, but that's not what we were talking about. We were talking about David Robinson. I think David Robinson, the Admiral, he was really good. I think he was very imposing, especially defensively. But I have to agree with Jalen, right? Like with the comparison of Giannis. The reason why it's so hard to place him and why we are struggling to put him in the top 5 is because he's doing things we've never seen a passing big man like this, that a man that can lead your team, lead the league in assists.
Yeah.
Right. As a center, we've never seen, and still give you the production of, maybe 2 blocks a game, maybe, 13 rebounds, 28, 30 points. You know what I mean? Like we've never seen that. And that's insane. So yeah, he's doing amazing things, but no, we have to kind of shift our perspective of how we see centers.
Yeah.
Right. And usually centers are back to the basket. All of these 5 people that we mentioned are usually men that playing in the lower blocks. Shoot, Nikola Jokic is damaged from 3-point, from core to core all the way to the basket. He is just pressure, right?
Yeah.
And that has to be said for something. So David Robinson was still kind of limited. And then I don't know, man. I think that he was still he was very good with the mid-range, everything now, but Nikola Jokic, he's just so deadly on offense.
Yeah. Yeah. And to piggyback on what you said, I said this in shameless plug. I said this in my podcast episode today. Every sport evolves. Of course, when you look at basketball, football, baseball, hockey, if you look at the early stages, if you look at it back in the day, it's drastically different. And that is where you said something about Shaq and all the people in the top 5 is that they changed the game. I think what we're seeing Nikola Jokic do is I think he's changing the game, just not in a way we won't think. I think Nikola Jokic is changing the way that we see the center position and the way that the center position is being played. While yes, you have Joel Embiid, and I'm not taking shots at Joel Embiid, but you have Joel Embiid, and he's sheer force, sheer power, of course, scoring. He can shoot the 3, but Nikola Jokic, he has the most unorthodox game, but like you said, he is such a threat, and he's not even the most athletic. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest, but he is such a threat any point of the court just from his vision and just from what's funny. The Denver Nuggets became the first team since the Lakers, the last year of their dynasty, the Lakers, the first team to win a championship and be outside the top 10 in defense. Nikola Jokic is a big reason for that because he understands that while, yes, he can get 40, he can get 50, which we've seen, I can also maybe get 28, 10, and 14 or 21, 15, and 15. So I think he's changing the game where now you can't just be a scoring big. You can't just be – you have to have a vision. You have to be able to get your other teammates involved, which is one thing that Joel Embiid kind of struggles with. I think Nikola Jokic is well on his way to being a top 5, top 3, top 2 center. And when we talk about David Robinson, I kind of put David Robinson in the same boat I put Patrick Ewing. Very good, but like Tim Duncan had a lot of help, or Tim Duncan was most of his help. I mean, Patrick Ewing didn't really do much, but sweat a lot. So
Damn.
Damn. That's all I'm sorry, but I just think Nikola Jokic. We're looking at one of those players where, kind of like Giannis, kind of like Steph. When it's like we're looking at a player change the game in a way that we maybe didn't think he could. We never thought coming out of Davis that Steph was going to be the greatest shooter ever. We never thought Giannis, as skinny as a middle schooler coming into the league, now he is what he is. So I do think Nikola Jokic has a major impact of how the game is being played now, how to defend. You kind of saw that with the Lakers series. You can't Anthony Davis. You can't defend him one-on-one. It doesn't matter who you are because he's going to get somebody else involved. Or with he's like a souped up better version of Kyle Anderson as far as slow-mo and being able to do everything and just his IQ is higher than I think he has one of the best IQs we've ever seen at the center position.
Dare
So
I say it, probably ever.
yeah,
Like
so
he could be up there with the point guards.
yeah, I do think that Nikola Jokic is in fact changing the game to the point where you can't just be you can't just guard centers the same way you've been guarding them. That's about it.
Just let me add up something real quick, man. It's interesting when you were just talking, Jalen. Traditionally, a center is points, rebounds, and blocks.
Mhm.
Points, rebounds, and blocks. But Nikola Jokic has kind of taken out the blocks, added assists, right? And in today's league, when it's an up and down league where points are just a part of the game, it's more about outscoring your opponent than focusing on defense. It is interesting that even though he is not, because we are holding it against him that he's not that defensive stopper or that rim protector, but really and truly, they will outscore you if he's looking up the court. He gets a defensive rebound, he's looking up, or he's finding the mismatches or anything like that. Like you made mention just now about playing him single coverage. You can't double this man. You can't play this man single coverage. You can't side off this man from the top of the key or from 3-point. You literally have to guard this man. You have to have a specific defender for Nikola Jokic. You gotta have a guy that, look, your only job tonight, brother, is to make sure that he works for everything he gets tonight. Don't worry about your offense. Don't worry about helping on defense. All you have to do is focus on Nikola Jokic. And the second thing I want to say is that we talk about Steph, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic not being expected. The thing about all the guys in the top 5 is that we knew it was known coming out of either high school or college that they were going to be the man, right? Yeah. Like all of those players we knew, they either went number 1 or we knew those guys are monsters, right? The thing about Nikola Jokic, Giannis, and to a lesser extent, to another extent, Steph, is that they were on anybody's radar, right? They literally either found success or worked very hard to find success in the league. So I think that's why we kind of hedge on putting in these players, well, not necessarily these players, but Nikola Jokic in top 5, because it's like, but he really wasn't that dominant at different levels, right? Like when you look at Kareem was dominant at every level of basketball. Shot, dominant at every level of basketball. Wilt, you know what I mean? But Nikola Jokic, who really knows what he did in Serbia? The average fan or most fans, right? So it's just
playing.
But so I say all that to agree with Jalen in that we can have to start looking at. I just don't mean Nikola Jokic, but going forward with certain players, we're gonna start to look at what they bring to the league and how they change the league, and not necessarily with the lens of how we view former greats. Yeah. Sorry, Dwayne. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Nikola Jokic is not top 5 right now. He's definitely on the top 5 trajectory. And a lot of, if there's one position of the 5 that is, I would say, the most difficult to crack the top 5, it's the center position. When you look at the history of basketball and you look at from the moment the MVP was introduced in, I believe, 56 till now, 27 MVPs have come from the center position. 17 of those MVPs combined are Kareem, Shaq, Bill Russell, Wilt, and Hakeem Olajuwon. Like it is going to be extreme, not just for Jokic, but like for any center at any point in the history of basketball to crack that top 5, because of simply the point. There was a point in time when the big man ruled basketball. Like there was a point in time when your championship window, when your championship success was predicated around who you had lining up at the 5 every given night, and if your 5 could stop the opposing team's 5. Like that's what it came down to. And to both of you guys' point, what Nikola Jokic is doing is he is changing the game of basketball, and he is becoming transcendent. And I do think as we continue to tell the story of Nikola Jokic, there will come a point in time, I honestly believe, where the story of basketball can't be told without Nikola Jokic. I think we will get to that point. I think, there are a list of players right now, maybe 10, 15 of them, where you can't tell the story of the NBA without them. Nikola Jokic, I think, in maybe the next 5 to 10 years, will become one of those players. Right now, he's not top 5. He can get there. He can absolutely get there. And to your point about the assists, right? Again, the 5 guys that are top 5 in assists or top 5 as centers, they were solid defenders. Bill Russell doesn't necessarily get his defensive praise because like all defensive teams weren't a thing when he was playing basketball. And I don't think defensive player of the year was a thing when he was playing basketball either. But if you were to kind of date it back and look at his seasons, he would have more than just one all defensive team on his resume. He would have a handful of defensive player of the years as well. But when Nikola Jokic brings to the table from a passing standpoint, like you guys both mentioned, it's something that I don't think there's any other center ever that has brought to the table what he brings to the table as far as being able to facilitate an offense. And
Kwame Brown.
Through where you can play through them, not just from an offensive standpoint, but from a facilitating standpoint, right? Like we made a big deal in what was it, game 2 about Nikola Jokic only having, what was it, four assists in that game? Like that's a really big deal. And that says a lot because there was a time when a big getting 4 assists, a center specifically getting 4 assists was like a career night, so to speak, because it's just not something you expected to see. So right now, Jokic is not top 5. He's definitely on a top 5 for trajectory. I think at the very least, he will be a top 5 center when it's all said and done. As far as cracking the top 3, he's going to have a legendary, transcendent career to get into the top 3. Because undeniably, Kareem's the greatest center of all time. Me personally, I think Shaq is the second best center of all time. And whether you have Wilt, Hakeem, or Bill as your third, it's going to take a lot for him to displace 3 guys in the top 5 to become the third best center of all time. But he'll definitely be top 5. Speaking of top 5, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, who now that they're back, they're at the top of the mountain. Jalen, can you name at least one duo in basketball right now that's better than Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic?
Good luck.
There's one, I believe, and that's surely due to name alone. And I would probably say Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Now, yes, I understand that that's a very hard argument to make, seeing as though they just lost to Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. But when we see the numbers outside of that game, so when we see, or the last game, when we see the numbers and you see just the scoring point or the scoring barrage that you can get from a Kevin Durant or a Devin Booker any night, it's tough for me to pick. And it's no offense to him, of course, but it's mainly due to Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray is what brings down that dynamic duo, but I'm not saying it as like, oh no, they're trash now. But there's a bunch of people I put over Jamal Murray, even though he is really good. Nikola Jokic is carrying that big that duo, but that of course before the season you could argue Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Definitely before the season you can argue Joel Embiid and James Harden, Mr. 2023 NBA champion over there. And I think, I don't know, because it's also hard because if you look at the playoffs, you can't make this argument at all. But quiet as it's kept, Klay Thompson had his best offensive season this year. And then Steph Curry, we know who Steph Curry is. So I think right now, to answer your question directly, the only duo I would probably feel confident in putting over Murray and Jokic is probably Durant and Devin Booker, just because of, and I do want to see what they look like when they have more than 8 games to play with each other, Paul, before they go into the playoffs. So I'll say Kevin Durant and Devin Booker probably is the only one I'm confident in.
Neil, are you also on the Kevin Durant, Devin Booker train? Do you think it's someone else?
No, I can't be on that train simply because, and here's so I see where Jalen is coming from, because at the end of the day, you got on paper or based on the body of work, it makes sense, right? We have 2 of the greatest scorers in the NBA today, so it makes sense that you have 2 of them on the team, but we haven't really seen that from them, right? I think that the season and when the trade happened and everything like that, it never really lined up for them. We never really saw them get in a groove and actually have that synergy of how to play off each other and make each other better, and how it would affect defensive schemes against them. You also mentioned Embiid and James Harden. James Harden is just not a player anymore. I think the challenge is to go against Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic is that those two players can give you 30 and 10 points out of the points and assists categories. And Nikola Jokic will more than likely give you 10 rebounds, right? When you look at, you have a point guard bringing up the ball, right? He's going to get people involved or he's going to get his own shot, right? You have Nikola Jokic who's going to play high, get the ball, and can feed to other players or work, get his own shot, or pass to the same Jamal Murray who could slide over to a shooting guard kind of position. So that's where they become dangerous, right? Because Nikola Jokic can facilitate that offense as well as Jamal Murray. They don't necessarily have to be a traditional point guard and center kind of situation. With all of the other doors, we are thinking about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, Steph and Clay, all of those other players, they're strictly scorers, right? Outside of maybe Steph, there's no other one in those doors that we mentioned that would essentially make other, like, add that dimension of passing to make them even more dangerous. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like it's hard to bet against Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic right now as the best duo in the NBA simply because of the positions they play and the roles that they can facilitate on offense. They can both interchange scoring and passing, and of course Nikola Jokic is going to rebound the basketball, right? The no, and this is not to take away from the other guys. No, at the end of the day, we all know what they can do. We know that they're a scoring punch, especially when healthy, especially when in their groove. We know that they can put up a lot of points. They can make it really tough on defensive schemes, etc. But there quite literally is no defense for Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic when they're on the court together. When they're clicking on all cylinders, it is very, very hard to bet against them. With Steph and Clay, it's hard to, but we hoping Father Time can slow them down, if anything, or you're hoping that if you throw enough active bodies around them, keep chasing them, etc., it could kind of disrupt their offense. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum shoot, make them go left,
Make them go left.
and that's the end of that. Joel Embiid and James Harden. James Harden is not that player anymore. So, but back to Jalen's point about Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Yes, the offense is going to be amazing. But, you know, if you can find a way to make it very difficult for them to score, can they impact the game in other ways? And that's where Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic separates themselves from everyone. Because if their shots are not falling, if the stars align on any given night, both of them have an off offensive night, they're still going to put pressure on you with Nikola Jokic and his passing and rebounds, as well as Jamal Murray and his assists. It's still going to make it very hard.
I'm going to throw 3 duos out there. We're going to assume health because these duos have health issues. We're going to assume health here. Okay. Does a healthy LeBron James and AD duo rank higher than Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray?
I say yes.
Today?
Mm-hmm.
I say yes.
Let me process this a minute. Let me process this.
Well, I know you're a Lakers fan, Neil. I want you.
I'm a Lakers fan, though.
Your unbiased opinion here.
My unbiased opinion. I still think it's very hard because,
defense AD. I'll say that.
And that's the thing, right? With AD, you can put him in uncomfortable situations. Yeah. You can be physical with him down low. You could make him stretch out and shoot those mid ranges that sometimes he falls in love with. LeBron James, when healthy, is LeBron James, right? If you ever see him flash back to like the Miami days, and he just barrel into the ring and he just going in his body, like there's no stopping LeBron James, but he is 38. But the question is, everybody healthy? I can't do it simply because AD is going to be the weak link there. We have seen AD shy away from contact. We've seen AD shy away from going down low and operating. And we don't know if he's that kind of player that can pass the ball and make people better. Now, Nikola Jokic is not necessarily a fan of contact either. No, I just want to be clear. But he still doesn't seem rushed.
Sure.
But, like when you're banging him and you stripping the ball or whatever, like he's going to recollect himself and he's going to kind of take a moment to just assess the situation and find the open man. He's very, very good at reading double teams. He's very, very good of realizing where mismatches are, and he's very, very good to know where the help is coming from. That is a problem. AD, as great as AD can be now, healthy AD is 27 points and about 15 rebounds now, 4 blocks. But I think once you make it tough, like Bam Adebayo on AD, I could have seen that being a very tough time for AD. Not saying AD wouldn't a flourish in that matchup, but Bam Adebayo is a very active player. He's a very physical player. He's going to make it like shoot in game 5. He was really physical with Jokic.
Yeah.
And Jokic still found success. Can AD do that? Will AD shy away when he realized his lips getting a little too hot, or he's not getting the calls that he's getting? So there's some intangibles that would make me hesitate on putting AD and LeBron above Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic right now.
Does a healthy Kawhi Leonard and Paul George?
I was waiting. I was waiting for this.
For that too. I knew it was coming.
I was waiting. And the thing is, when we were talking about duos, right? I said, no boy, better not call them two. I tired of hearing about the Clippers. I tired about hearing about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I think it's time to blow up that failed experiment. One player doesn't play and the other one doesn't play in the playoffs. I don't know. It's
and one of them dictates when he plays, which is never.
Forget that.
This is another duo that's won a championship in the past couple of years. Does a healthy Giannis and Chris Middleton rank ahead of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray?
No, because of Chris. I one of the biggest reasons why I pick AD and LeBron over them is because I'm picking LeBron right now over Jamal Murray, and that's no offense to Jamal Murray. I think that AD at his best is closer to Nikola Jokic than LeBron at his best, or Jamal Murray at his best to LeBron. When it comes to Chris Middleton, we've seen a steady. I mean, even though they've still been great and they're still a great defensive team and they had a third, we've seen a decline from Chris Middleton, mainly due to injuries. And yes, while we know who Giannis is, it's the duo part. It's the other person. And from what I've seen, Jamal Murray, even after the injury, which actually is astonishing, how he's played after the injury. I'll pick Jamal Murray over Chris Middleton in my opinion. That's just me.
And then this duo doesn't exist right now.
Bradley Beal
could exist in a couple months. Does a potential Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler duo rank above Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic?
Boy.
I will say this. I don't know if that'll rank above them because now a lot of people, especially in my comments, are saying it's due to injury, but we saw a very inconsistent Jimmy Butler after, I guess, the Knicks series. I will say one of the biggest reasons why I believe the Heat lost is because the players that they were depending on did not perform. I don't think they lost defensively. I think they lost because their offense was how their offense was the entire season. Inconsistent, not really able to shoot threes. While yes, you can say, well, they're one of the best 3-point shooting teams. They don't take a lot, but they know they can't shoot a lot of threes.
Yeah.
So when you're depending on Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, well, Gabe Vincent was balling out maybe 1 or 2 games. And your best 3-point shooter and Tyler Euro's not there, and Duncan Robinson, I feel this. I will say if Damian Lillard was on that team, the finals may still be going on. Because, again, quiet as it's kept, even though it was a gentleman's sweep, the Heat played really good defense against the Nuggets the entire series.
They did.
You're going to look at Nikola Jokic's number and say, God damn, like, he averaged 30. Like, Jesus, no. They played great defense on Nikola Jokic. I am one of the biggest – I'm one of the biggest I don't praise Bam as much as other people. And I said one of the biggest reasons why they were going to lose this series is because Bam Adebayo can't see Nikola Jokic. I was wrong. Bam Adebayo was the Heat best player the entire series. So I don't think the Heat lost because of defense. They lost because they could not shoot. They could not shoot to save their life. And the people that they depended on shooting either was out with a hand injury or just wasn't hitting. You add Damian Lillard, who, I mean, he had a 70-point game this year. I think that they have not only a better shot of winning, I wouldn't be surprised if they won the NBA Finals. And that's just because you add the defense and the specialties and the expertise that Eric Spoelstra brings to the defensive side of the ball and scheming. Again, they played a good defense. Again, a lot of the reasons Michael Porter Jr. didn't really hit wasn't because he just forgot how to shoot. They played him perfectly.
Very well.
We know, hey, Michael Porter Jr. is a little on the skinnier side, so always rebound, always get into his legs, always crowd the box. Jamal Murray was ups and downs. Nikola Jokic was the only one that was doing his thing, but again, we just asked, is he a top 5 center of all time? So you're gonna do what you want to do. Damian Lillard, to answer your question, I don't know if I don't know if I'll pick them over Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. However, I would give the Heat a better shot of winning the championship this year if Dame was on that team.
How about you, Neil?
So the question is, better duo, or are we talking about Dame and South Beach?
A combination of both. If Damian Lillard heads to Miami, would you have a Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler duo ahead of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray?
No, I wouldn't have them above, but they're immediately the second best duo in the NBA, right? Because of Jimmy Butler's tenacity, because of his, as I tell anyone, if I'm building an NBA player from the current patch of NBA players, I would take Jimmy Butler's heart. That sounds very cliche and Disney-esque, but his heart is unmatched. The Damian Lillard is all world. He is the biggest shot maker, probably behind Steph in the NBA right now. So when you combine that with Bam Adebayo, or rather Spoelstra's defensive schemes, then we can now have a different conversation. But to answer the second part of that, Damian Lillard in South Beach, I think if you add Damian Lillard, I agree with Jalen 1,000%. If you added Damian Lillard to this team before these finals, the finals would still be going on. Shoot, I would even posit that it would put a lot more pressure on Jamal Murray and having his comfort level of being as effective. Now, granted, Damian Lillard is not a defensive specialist, but I think with the buy-in of the Heat's, the Heat's defensive philosophies, and Damian Lillard is that kind of superstar that would be willing to buy into that kind of winning mentality, I can see it being very difficult on Jamal Murray to score. And to speak a bit on what Jalen was saying about the Heat's defense, I agree with him 1,000%. Their defense was very, very good. The problem came is they had moments of like 2-minute stretches of just bad mistakes on defense, right? They played a very good job on Jokic and Jamal Murray, but they also did a very good job on Michael Porter Jr. because Michael Porter Jr., especially attacking him while he is on the defensive end, he made a lot of bad plays and decisions on defense, so they knew they could put him in matchups and switches that would benefit taking advantage of the defense of the Nuggets. So they played it well. It's just they had some moments where, especially when they were making big runs and comebacks, they just made some silly mistakes. Like I think it was game 4, where they were coming back in the fourth, and all of a sudden, I think it's Bruce Brown. He was just attacking Duncan Robinson. And Duncan Robinson, bat to bat, made bad decisions and bad reads, and it ended up in fouls. Then, of course, when you have KCP, on the wings or whatever, that made it a bit hard. The Heat did as much as they did, but I think adding Damian Lillard to the Miami Heat is such a perfect fit because that will also put pressure on the Denver Nuggets to truly defend. It's like kind of playing them at their own game, so to speak, not necessarily saying that they have the pieces like the Nuggets, but to me, you have Bam Adebayo playing the defense and anchoring your middle. You have Jimmy Butler just being your Swiss Army knife for whatever you need, rebounds, steals, points, whatever. Damian Lillard controlling the offense as well as being a threat from quarter court, half court, all the way to the ring. And then, of course, you have Gabe Vincent, you have Matt Strus, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, not necessarily saying they're going to be there if Damian Lillard comes, but I think that would make it a bit of a challenge for the Denver Nuggets to overcome. Of course, we would have talked about this on thisJUSTin on last episode. I really would like to see Dame Lillard being in South Beach. I think that is a perfect match. I think that the mentality Damian Lillard has versus the Heat culture is like just it just makes sense. Just like Jimmy Butler being there, it makes sense, right? Because the work ethic of Damian Lillard is not to be questioned. We know he keeps himself in amazing shape, game ready all the time, and we know the standard and the culture of the Miami Heat. So it makes sense to get him there. It's just my fear is they may have to give up a lot to get him. So it doesn't make sense bringing him there if you have to like essentially gut your team, right? And you only have like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, but like you have no 3-point shooters or anything like that. We don't know what's gonna happen, but I think that is a match made in heaven, and I would love to see it. If they can somehow make it work and still retain a level of offense and defense that got them to the finals this year, I think that they would definitely be a huge favorite to come out the East next year and to make a good run at challenging the defending champs.
Yeah, to piggyback on Neil's point, I think that Damian Lillard in South Beach would probably be the best fit. I think the second best fit would probably be Philly. If James Harden's up out of there, which every article you read and what Doc Rivers just said probably is. I think one of the biggest, it'll change when you get a player like Damian Lillard. It changes the dynamic and mainly the responsibilities of the entire team. Now you're not looking for Jimmy to go for 37 or go for 56 because you have a Damian. Now you're not asking Kyle Lowry, who's clearly not that Kyle Lowry anymore. You're not asking him to be a defensive or an offensive weapon. You're not asking Gabe Vincent to get first team minutes, which if you play basketball, you know, first team minutes and bench minutes are drastically different.
Yeah,
The just in floor spacing is different. And then, of course, Damian Lillard has never really been around or been on a team that has focused on defense, which is one of the biggest reasons why you see all these, you know, incredible scoring outputs and they can't make it out the first round or they can't make it to the playoffs. I mean, Anthony Simons is great, but he's not stopping the lick either. So you surround him with a defensive culture. You saw that with LeBron James. When he coming from Cleveland, he did absolutely nothing but chase down blocks. And then now we went to Miami. LeBron James is all defensive teams, and it permeates throughout the entire Heat culture. I would say now, yes, the one fear that I have, like Neil said, if you're not getting Damian Lillard for nothing, like that's, and it's not like you have the third overall pick, so draft picks ain't really doing much for you at this point. So you would have to give up some pieces. My thing is, are the pieces that you're giving up the pieces around you? Getting Damian Lillard makes your team better regardless. It doesn't matter if it's the Orlando Magic, the Washington Wizards, or anybody. If you get Damian Lillard, your team is better. But I would need to see who they have to give up in order to say, yeah, they're title contenders or not. Because a team with Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and Damian Lillard is a good team, but that's not a title contender. But sure. You add a Gabe Vincent now as a backup. You add Tyler Hero still on the team. You add maybe Max Strus, and now he doesn't have to take 13 threes a game. Like you add some of the pieces that they have now, then yes, for sure, I would pick them. I mean, they beat the team without them. They beat the number one team in the NBA. Then they beat the best defensive team, the best offensive team, and the Knicks. So yeah, it depends on who they have at the end, but getting Damian Lillard definitely makes the South Beach or the Heat much, much better.
I would feel so much better about the Heat getting Damian Lillard if this was like a free agency thing.
Yes.
If this was just like the Heat are signing Damian Lillard via free agency, I feel so much better because when you look at the Heat, a lot of what you have to love about the Heat from a standpoint of the roster construction is there's so many guys around Jimmy Butler, for the most part, that on any given night can have those explosive moments for three, right? We saw Gabe Vincent have some of those games. We saw Max Strus have one of those games. Caleb Martin was like the guy in the Celtics series that kind of helped propel them into the finals in the first place, right? Like, obviously, we know what Tyler Hero brings to the table as well. The tough thing that you have to worry about if you're the Miami Heat and if you're Pat Riley is Damian Lillard alone worth the sacrifice of 2, 3, potentially 4 of these players and picks? And on paper, the answer is yes, because Damian Lillard is still one of the premier point guards in basketball, and he's still very reliable. And he takes a lot of offensive pressure, not just off of Jimmy Butler, but also off of Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
The thing for the Heat, though, is, and it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. You guys remember when the whole James Harden thing was going around, and even to a lesser degree when the Kyrie Irving kind of trade stuff was going around, the Heat did not want to give up Tyler Hero. Like, and that was why James Harden didn't end up in Miami.
Yep.
Refused to let go of Tyler Hero. What I'm interested in is Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, I guess, going to have that same mentality about getting Dame? Like, are they going to take Tyler Hero off the table early? And is Portland going to be okay with that? Because if you look at any other trade package, like I just saw a trade package earlier today because now Bradley Beal could potentially be traded from the Wizards. There's a trade package that has Tyler Hero being traded for Bradley Beal and some other things to the Wizards. So it's like, if that's a potential trade package for Bradley Beal, you'd have to think that Tyler Hero could be involved in the trade package for Dame. But if there's one guy that you can't trade if you're the Heat, ironically enough, it is Tyler Hero, because Tyler Hero, at least in this year's offense, was the second best scorer on the team behind Jimmy Butler. And obviously, if Dame is there, he'd go down to being third. But like, that's still that he is still a microwave scorer that can instantly bring life back into your offense. An offense that, as you guys both alluded to, has moments of stagnation throughout the course of games and can go not just minutes, but can go quarters, as we saw in this past final series, quarters without being able to consistently hit shots, whether it's in half court sets or in the fast break. That's what you love about Tyler Hero. So the one thing I'm cautious of, as someone kind of figuring out, as all of us are, as a fan, kind of figuring out what's happening with this Dame Lillard to the Heat thing, is are the Heat taking Tyler Hero off the table? And if they're not, what exactly would be their status without Tyler Hero? I think he is a crucial piece of this puzzle. I really do.
I think the crucial piece to the puzzle as to why they didn't want to give up Tyler Hero for James Harden and in the middle of the season for Kyrie is because I think the lack of a better term, baggage that they bring, and the fact of, if you really look at, James Harden is an incredible player. James Harden is an all-NBA 75 player. Kyrie Irving is an incredible player, and they make a team better, but do they make a team a championship level team? And as we're clearly seeing with the Philadelphia 76ers, no offense to them, James Harden, like Neil said, it is not that James Harden. If you're getting James Harden from Houston, yeah, cool, I get it. But you're not. If you're getting Kyrie Irving that only played with LeBron James, then I get it. And getting those type of players, in my opinion, while yes, he's a system changer. Of course, you have to change your system when you're playing against Damian Lillard. But I think Damian Lillard at least has the reputation that he can adapt to a system more than we've seen James Harden, which he wasn't really able to do in Brooklyn, which he really wasn't able to do, as we just heard from Doc Rivers in Philly, and Kyrie, where he has not been able to adapt anywhere as far as the system. So I think Tyler Hero is a very important piece of the Heat, as we saw in this playoffs. But when you're getting, I would think, if I'm Pat Riley, if I have Damian Lillard on the table and all I got to give up is 1-2 players, and one of them have to be Tyler Hero, hey, he's getting on the Greyhound. So
hallelujah.
That's just it for me. I think he definitely was untouchable, but you're looking at the type of player. Yes, great players, but maybe not system players. Damian Lillard doesn't give off the "I'm not a system player" vibe, and I think that would, out of anything, Tyler Hero could go.
And to add real quickly to that, Damian Lillard solves not only the scoring from Tyler Hero and the void of him leaving, but also he solves your point guard position play.
Yep.
So I mean,
more Kyle Lowry.
Thanks for the memories, guys.
Yes.
There's one more thing we have to talk about. And every day I think we're reminded, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on TikTok, or sometimes whether it's just on national TV, that some people just don't deserve to talk sports. Mad Dog Russo was on First Take, who was this, yesterday, and gave his version of the Stephen A list, the Mad Dog A list, for his top 5 NBA title contenders for next season. From 5 to 1. Mad Dog has the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Go ahead. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's be professional. Come on, sit up straight. Come on, guys. No laughing. Come on, guys.
He has the Thunder at 5, the Kings at 4, the Bucks at 3, the current NBA champion Nuggets at 2, and he has the Warriors at 1. Neil, I'm going to start with you. I want you to grade Mad Dog's A list on a letter grade scale, A to F. I want you to give your own top 5 contenders for next season's championship.
Okay, first of all, in Barbados, we don't have a grading system really, and for us, it's secondary school. For you guys, it's high school. But I do know about the grading system. I know you guys don't have. I think F is the lowest grade you give. I will give him H. I think that. I have never, like, the first time I heard about Mad Dog's list is just now when you said it, right? I purposely said I'm not going to look up this list because I want to hear it in real time and get my opinions. Your man said Mad Dog said OKC, SAC, Bucks, Nuggets, and Warriors. I think his name is apt. He is a mad dog. It should be insane dog. This is a terrible list. I don't know what OKC got to do with it. I literally do not understand where OKC come from. If we're talking about contenders for next season, I don't know what the Thunder has anything to do with it. I don't even care if the OKC Thunder had Thor on it. They're not number 5 in anything to do with basketball next season. I don't know what that is. Sacramento, yes, they're on the come up, and yes, they look real good. If he was saying like top 4 in the league in terms of the regular season, maybe he could get an argument for me. But we're talking about contenders for the NBA Finals championships. No, the Kings are not that. The Bucks at 3, it might get a pass there. That's some semblance of reality being grounded, but the Nuggets at 2 is wild. To the Warriors is wild. This is a Warriors team that may not have Draymond Green next year. This is a older Warriors team. This is a Warriors team that, granted, they did have flashes of their former dynasty. They still look long in the teeth, and you can see the age and you can see the fatigue in terms of the systems they play with, and they need to get younger. But the Nuggets at 2 is wild. The Nuggets at 2 with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray that we just saw in the finals is wild. I think they probably asked him this like in January or maybe even December last year, and he said, all right, these are my 5. And then they came today. He was like, shit, I had this written down somewhere. Oh, you can swear on here. Sorry. He had this written down. He's like, oh, shoot, where's this? Oh, yeah, I had this. Sacramento. Anyhow, let's come back from Narnia now and talk about real life. At 5 for me, I'm gonna start from 1 in Nuggets. I think it's better to start from 1. I can put the Nuggets in there. At 1. We got Phoenix gonna be in there somewhere. I have to put LA because when I say LA, I mean the Lakers. No, don't be cute. At 4, I can't rule out the Bucks and what they got going on out there. And at 5, I'm gonna have to put Miami in there. And you can notice that I do not have anywhere in there the Celtics because I think their moment in the sun is over. I think that they have to get younger. They need to get younger. They need to get guard play, and they need to get a bit faster. Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum are our world, but they are not alone going to get it done for you. You need somebody to pass the ball, you need somebody to defend, and you need someone to contend with the younger, faster teams in the NBA. So those are my five. If I were to put them in order, Nuggets first, Phoenix second, LA third, Bucks, Miami. And I know I can get some licks for putting LA at three, but come on. What are you supposed to say? I under contract with the Lakers.
I'll play devil's advocate. I'll give it a C because I understand where he was coming from.
Hold on, Jalen, come on,
just
bro.
Let me explain it. I understand where he was coming from. 4 out of the 5. Now that OKC drastically, yeah, they have like there's a reason why they have like 28 drafts to 2027. So I can't justify that. But I understand where he was coming from. Now, no, I don't. I need to see yet another year of Sacramento. I think that this was like a magical year for them. Everything came together. Mike Brown was great. Malik Monk finally worked somewhere. De'Aaron Fox emerged as a top 5 point guard this year. I think all second team I get it. I understand the Warriors. I mean, hell, a lot of people had the Warriors favorite coming into this year. If it wasn't for Draymond Green going, Afro Thunder on them, then who knows? Who knows? So here's my top. I'm gonna start 5-1. I think 5. I would have to put Golden State. I think there's a lot of question marks with Golden State. However, there's a lot of things that we know if they tap into something. Like, yes, are they going to get Draymond Green? But hell, Draymond Green was second all defense. Are they going to get? I mean, Klay Thompson, like I said, the playoffs he definitely fell off, but he had offensively, statistically, his best season he's had in years. Are they going to get something positive for Jordan Poole? Like, what happens if you turn Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga into a Karl Anthony Towns? That changes everything. What happens if you get Mitchell Robinson and somebody? I think that Bob Myers leaving is huge, but there are a lot of question marks with Golden State. If they answer those question marks, which a lot of them can be answered, I have them as a contender, so I have them number 5. I'm not as bullish on the Celtics. I think one thing that the Celtics need, and they know they need, is a pure point guard, which is why they got Malcolm Brogdon last year, because Jaylen Brown is not your point guard. As we clearly can see, make him go left. Jason Tatum is not your point guard because they have their offense, they're scoring players. So that's why when Malcolm Brogdon, I think the Malcolm Brogdon injury definitely changed the series because Marcus Smart cannot be your point guard. Like, he cannot. But that's why the first team I thought of until Damian Lillard shot that down was, if Damian Lillard goes in the Celtics, it's over. So I think if Malcolm Brogdon comes back healthy and he plays like he did in Indiana, I think that they are definitely contenders. So I have the Celtics at number 4. Number 3, I have to go with the Suns. I want to see what they look like with more time. I want to see. Yes, I know we're going to see what happens with Chris Paul, and more than likely that they're trading DeAndre Ayton. But that's another one. What if I don't think it's going to happen. But what if the Warriors get DeAndre Ayton for a Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, and maybe a Kevon Looney? You know what I'm saying? So I just need to. I think the Suns just need more time. I can definitely be wrong because defensively, I don't know you're right now. Your starting point guard is Cameron Payne. That's not going to work. So in fact, I'm gonna switch that. I have the Suns at 4. I have the Celtics at 3. Number 2, I have the Bucks. I mean, the entire year they were the best team in basketball, outside of maybe the first 2 weeks of the start of the season. Giannis is still Giannis. Drew Holiday is probably the most underrated player in basketball when we talk about being able to do everything on the floor. I mean, he had a couple 40-point games. I think he had a 50-point game this year. And that team, I think what would take them out of contention is if they don't retain Brook Lopez, which that's a crazy sentence to say in my opinion. But he's just that important to the team. And number one, like I said, right now, currently constructed, it's hard for me to put anyone over the Denver Nuggets. So I have Denver, Milwaukee, the Celtics, Phoenix, and Golden State. That's my top 5.
There are, as I said, every day you get on Twitter, you get on TikTok, you get on Instagram, and you just run into people that just should not be allowed to talk basketball. Mad Dog Russo needs to go back to talking baseball because this list is horrendous. This list is god awful. And like I know you tried to shoot him some bail, Jalen, and that's just because you're a wonderful human being. And
I think the craziest state here is Jalen saying that is a C.
I applaud you for trying to cut Mad Dog some slack here. But let's keep it a beat. The Kings and the Thunder. Will they be playoff teams next season? I think so. I think the Kings will be a playoff team. The Thunder, I think, could be in the play-in.
They want to see what Chet looks like. Chet.
If Chet comes in and looks as advertised, I think the Thunder could be an interesting team out west. Neither of these teams are title contenders next season. For the reigning NBA champions to not be number one on this list is asinine.
It's wild.
It's asinine. So I would say the Nuggets are the favorites. I think they have to be the favorites. They're the only team in either conference that I think doesn't have questions that need to be answered. Like there's nothing you look at the Nets and the Nuggets and you say what needs to be fixed. Nothing. They just won a championship. There's no questions, right? I think after the Nuggets, I would say it's the Suns. I do recognize that there are things that need to be addressed as far as what to do with DeAndre Ayton and what to do with Chris Paul and what the team could look like. But I do think, though, that when you're ranking duos, as we did earlier in the show, if they're not the best duo ahead of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, I would argue that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are the best duo in the NBA, not named Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And I think for that reason, they are number 2. And even though the series was 4-2 and it was a 6-game series and it didn't at times feel competitive, I would say of all the teams that the Nuggets played throughout the course of the playoffs of their run, I would say the Suns gave them the biggest run for their money and they gave them the most trouble. And it's not just because that was the longest series they played, obviously, but because genuinely each of the games, even the games they won, the Nuggets had to work for all those wins. And there were moments when it looked like it could have gone either way. I do have the Bucks at 3. Chris Middleton's injuries over the past 2 seasons has really been the issue for the Bucks. And I know Giannis missed time as well with the back injury in the opening round of the playoffs that obviously had them sitting home by the Heat. But Chris Middleton is the key. And Jalen, you said it's crazy. I think when you look at what Brook Lopez did this season, given that he was the anchor for the team defensively and was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, dare I say a loss of Brook Lopez would be massive.
Oh, yeah.
Defensively, there's rumors that Bobby Portis could be out the door. That would also be a massive loss for them as well. So the Bucks have questions that need to be answered, but if they can keep Lopez and if they can keep Bobby Portis and if Chris Middleton remains healthy, they're okay. Yeah. After them, it's tough, but I would give the nod to the Celtics. I do think the Celtics defensively, they had it all figured out. The issue is offensively. There is an issue as it pertains to the facilitating, as you mentioned, Jalen. Marcus Smart is not a point guard. And the only reason why Marcus Smart plays point guard is because when they put him at shooting guard for the 5 or 6 years he was a shooting guard, they realized he couldn't shoot worth a lick. And so he had to be point guard.
He has the greenest
point guard.
Light.
Yeah. Yeah, when they get a true point guard, maybe we can have a better discussion and maybe we can talk about just how open that championship window is in Boston. The 5th spot can go to a lot of different teams. I do think, though, that the 5th spot should go to the Lakers. I think when you look at who the Lakers was after the trade deadline, it's a completely different basketball team than the Lakers, obviously, that started the season, obviously 2-10, had Russ and had a lot of things to figure out. The Lakers have already stated that bringing back Austin Reeves is at the top of their list, as it should be of priorities for this offseason. They've also already alluded to the fact that bringing back Rui Hachimura is also towards the top of the list of priorities, as it should be.
I'll say this. I don't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
The only reason why I didn't put the Lakers, and I'm gonna give you the floor, I promise, is because most of the players that they got at the trade deadline are free agents at this point.
Sure.
And most of the players that they got outside of Rui and outside of Rui actually what made a dent in the playoffs. So yes, Austin Reeves should be a priority. Rui should be a priority, but is he that much of a priority? Because if they pay both of them the money that they're probably gonna warrant on the or garnish on the in the free agency realm, they're gonna be over the apron. And we know the new CBA. If you're over the apron, especially, I think they'll be the second apron. That means that they're
second apron. Yeah.
they can't they're
No.
no wiggle room. That means Mo Bamba might got to suit up. So it's just I don't know if you can get somebody better, which I don't know they can.
Sure.
I don't know, but back to you.
No, that is a fair point. I was going to say that they do, that is again like when we talk again like when you talk about how every other team in the league has questions. That's a big one. A lot of the players that they brought in, like you said, for the trade deadline, they're all going to be free agents. And here's the thing: I would take this team over the second apron, over LeBron, AD, Kyrie Irving, and a bunch of players on vet minimums. We've seen that movie before with Russell Westbrook. Now, Kyrie Irving is at this point still a better player than Russ, but we've seen what a team with AD, LeBron, and a veteran point guard, and then a bunch of vet minimum players looks like. Looks like 2-10 start to the season. So I would take this team if they can figure out a way to make it work, even if they are over the second apron, over any other team. I would say the two teams that are honorable mentions for me are the Heat and the Warriors. The Heat, it seems because I just want to see what they look like if they do get Dame. Will they still be that championship caliber team? And then the Warriors, there's a lot happening. Like Draymond could be out the door.
A lot of
Jordan Poole got paid and he forgot how to play basketball. They're looking to move on from Jonathan Kuminga, which me personally, I don't support because they're going to move on from Jonathan Kuminga to go get another young player. And Jonathan Kuminga was a young player they refused to develop. They're just going to go get another young player that they're going to refuse to develop. I don't know if that's going to be good.
I honestly think
though.
I honestly think they're giving up Jonathan Kuminga because of how low the stock has dropped for Jordan Poole. If you would have talked about Jordan Poole before the season, you damn near might get a borderline star for Jordan Poole if you were to trade him. Now it's like, why would we take that he has a max contract. Why would we take that max contract for a player that can't thrive next to a star? Plays not only does he not play defense, he actually plays great offense for the other team. He's shown that he drastically can't come off the bench. So I think they don't want to give up Jonathan Kuminga, especially seeing as though Andre Iguodala is retiring, and he's a very raw version of Andre Iguodala, just without the IQ right now. But I don't know unless you like trade him to the Wizards or something. I don't know who you're gonna get. Like you could get Porzingis maybe, but no one's just gonna take Jordan Poole. Not even the Magic. You know, they take all the trash to the NBA. So.
Oh damn.
They'll pick up anything, but yeah, that's a good point. It is always a pleasure to have you guys on the show. Neil and then Jalen, please let everybody know where they can find you and all of your work elsewhere.
Well, again, thank you very much, Dwayne. This was fun. I always enjoy playing basketball with sane commentators and not people that are on big networks, you know, insane canines. I don't know. So you can follow me, see my handle there, King Hoyte. I'm on Instagram. I do have a few podcasts that I do along with thisJUSTin every Monday at 8 p.m. Barbados time. I do not know American time like that, so you may have to Google that because I am based in Barbados. I also do the Senate podcast every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Barbados time again, where we talk about life, love, and relationships from the perspective of Black Caribbean men. And then I have another podcast called The Bad Movie Crew, where we talk about bad movies. And, well, we talk about movies in general, but we're trying to get back in the swing of things with that. We don't have a release schedule for that, unfortunately. Whenever schedules align and we could watch movies and we could put out content, that's where we go. So on Instagram, I think Dwayne could tell you better about thisJUSTin because I don't know any of the socials with thisJUSTin, which is terrible as I'm the producer for it. The Senate Podcast. You can check us out, the Senate Podcast on YouTube. You can check us out, the Senate Podcast 246 Instagram. And if you are over the age of 70 and you use Facebook, the Senate Podcast, we have a page. Like, comment, share, subscribe. By Movie Crew, we are on YouTube. And thisJUSTin, we are on YouTube as well.
And the times for thisJUSTin are 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific.
Thank you very much.
Jones. Okay. Definitely looking forward to the movie podcast. So I hope y'all explain why there's so many Fast and the Furious movies. I, of course, Jay Hunter, again, I appreciate you inviting me on. I am the host of the Unpopular Podcast. I changed the logo. Now it's my face. So if you see my face, that's
click it.
Our logo, by the way.
I appreciate it. I drop every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. For the visuals, which is on YouTube. The audio is midnight every Wednesday and Saturday. TikTok, I think the Unpopular, again, my face, the Unpopular Pod, Instagram, the Unpopular. I put content daily, and go follow, subscribe if you want to see this beautiful face with a haircut. So,
and of course, you guys know to come over to the Give Us a Shot Network and subscribe for all things Go Talk with Marcus. Tonight was a very busy night for the network. Bert and Germ did stuff about sports tonight at the same time that I'm doing this. Jason and Don did their show at the same time that I'm doing this. So if you didn't catch their show for the week and thought you might miss it or want to catch it, you can head back over to network socials and check that out as well. And of course, we have Mike and Corey with The Divide every Friday night live on Fox Sports The Gambler, and the guys over at the High Spot Podcast. It is always a pleasure to have these guys on the show. As I've said, I will be back this Friday, flying solo to talk some WNBA basketball. We're going to talk Dallas Wings, Atlanta Dream, Aaliyah Boston, and so much more. So 8 o'clock Friday night, same place. Be sure to look out for that. And as I've said before, the finals are over. So all I'm going to be talking about until September is women's basketball. So if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you. See you for football, I guess, because that's all I'm going to be talking about on this side. So for Neil of the thisJUSTin, of the hashtag thisJUSTin Sports Show and the Senate Podcast and the Bad Movie Crew, and for my guy Jalen Hunter of the Unpopular Podcast, this is Marcus of Go Talk with Marcus and the Give Us a Shot Network signing off. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you guys enjoy the rest of your lives.